Welcome to the MSDW podcast. I'm Jason Gumpert, editor at msdynamicsworld.com, and this is a special episode of the podcast brought to us by our sponsor, ClickLearn, as part of our 2019 User Group Summit and Extreme 365 event special coverage. On this episode, Rick McCutcheon, a Microsoft MVP and expert in CRM, process strategy, and user adoption, sits down with ClickLearn CEO Joachim Schiermacher and CMO Jakob Hojer Bjorning. They discuss ClickLearn's latest product updates, the company's presence at these upcoming conferences, and how their product vision aligns with Microsoft's business apps in terms of user adoption, training, testing, and documentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Rick McCutcheon. I'm a Dynamics 365 MVP, and today I'm going to be talking to Joachim and Jakob from ClickLearn. I'll let them introduce themselves in just a minute, and we're going to talk about, one of the hottest ISVs in the Microsoft Dynamics 365 and Power Platform space, and what they're going to be doing this fall at some very special events happening in Orlando. So, gentlemen, Jakob, I'll let you introduce yourself first.
Thank you, Rick. My name is Jakob Bjorning, and I'm the CMO of ClickLearn, and I've been so for 2 years now. You, Joachim?
Well, my name is Joachim. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of ClickLearn.
Okay. So Joachim, tell us a little bit about tell us what ClickLearn does to begin with. Some of our listeners may not be familiar with your application, but what I'm really interested in is sort of your background. Have you had a software company before? Why did you decide to build ClickLearn? So, where did you get started?
Yeah. So we are three founders in ClickLearn. So we have a double Michael. So every time someone says Michael in the office, it's like two people turning around. And Michael Olsen, who is the CTO of ClickLearn, actually developed the software, the entire ClickLearn platform. And I met up with Michael in 2009. And he demoed. I had a very brief consultancy. I was trying to help a little bit in the company that Michael was employed in, and see if there were any leftover business ideas that we could perhaps capitalize on. And at the very end of the of our session, he said, I need to show you something. We did this for our internal purposes, and they were a very, very small company, and they were selling their software across the world. And they had the, very simple problem that they needed to translate into 7 different languages, more or less the same instructions over and over within their own software solution. And Michael had found a way to do that, basically create a recording technology that worked on top of, virtually any piece of software, and that would enable him to automatically translate that into multiple languages. And I saw that and I said, bingo, that's it. And I want to be part of that. And Michael and I, we had known each other, since we were around 16 years old. So we set out to see how can we make this into a finished product. At the time, it was, a horrible command line utility type of thing that you started in the background. It was just horrible in terms of user experience. So we spent between 2009 and around 2015 when we had, our first launch at Directions in EMEA. And we spent that time basically visiting customers, discussing what types of features are in there, what are the actual requirements that they need. And I was intrigued by the product because I have a background in training as well. So I've done a lot of training. And training users in a number of different software products. So I was very much into what that software could deliver. And I really thought that we would be off of, to a flying start. But it took a while before we could actually, get through to the market. It was a very interesting product. And we had like 100 customer meetings and everyone was, wow, that's really impressive. But it was really tough, getting the momentum. And then at the directions EMEA, that the ketchup sort of left the bottle, full effect. And since then, it's been an adventurous journey.
So what year was that?
That was in 2015.
So when we look a few years later, you've developed this product, and I know that your product works with several different ERP applications, but our big interest is what it does with Dynamics and what it's going to be doing with Power Platform. So could you just kind of describe how your application works with Dynamics?
Yeah, so it's really very much the same recording technology that Michael built back then. Obviously, it's rewritten a couple of times in order to support the new features, but essentially what it does is it captures the knowledge of any given process that you perform within the CRM system. It's sort of a background recorder. And unlike traditional recording technology that simply captures screenshot, we actually understand what it is that the user is performing inside the application. And we can take that single recording and convert that into numerous different formats. We can create, video automatically narrated. We can do some really, really well-structured documentation in terms of HTML. And then obviously we can bring that in to the live environment through our virtual assistant. That means that that's actually a technology that guides the user inside their live system. And everything is based on a single recording session, making it very, very efficient to record and produce the material.
So one of the things that I was really impressed with is how it automatically updates the material. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's so we have what we call a replay function. So what we do there is we take an existing recording, say you record on a CRM 2011, and you are converting all the way up to Dynamics 365 customer engagement. We can take that recording and we can upgrade that, and then you can replay it back on the new system, upgrading all the screen content automatically and create a brand new, ready-to-use videos for the user. And what we can also do with that very nice feature is that you can record inside, say, an English localized system. And without knowing German or Spanish, you can take that back to a localized system in one of those languages. You can play that back, and we will actually generate the Spanish or German documentation for you.
So this is a great tool to use not only when you're rolling something out, but ongoing support as well. So I think the use cases for this is right across an organization deploying software, or if they're an ISV building software and supplying it, for their customers. So we've got two big shows coming up in Orlando next month, or actually it's the first, so it's this month. We got Extreme 365 and we got Dynamics Communities, which is the D365 user group, and they go back to back in Orlando. And I know that ClickLearn is a sponsor, a big supporter of both our user group community and the partner event. So Jakob, tell us a little bit about what ClickLearn is going to be doing in Orlando.
Well, thank you for asking, Rick. Based on a tremendous success, we tried Summit for the first time last year and had an overwhelming interest both at the booth and at our breakout session. So this year we have decided to go all in and to step it up. So we are platinum sponsors and are focusing both on the Power Platform track and the CRM track. Where we will be bringing on, not doing just a traditional demo and showcasing the solution, but we'll actually bring reference customers in form of Census, Dan Madden's team, to the stage and to help us share a very successful use case. And we've even developed a character, a superhero, whom we call the super user, who will take the stage during some of the 60-second showdowns. And as any superhero, he of course has a superpower, and that is his ability to adapt to any business system just by looking at it. And that is, of course, powered by ClickLearn.
Wow, this is we won't want to miss that for sure. And another thing we'll be doing is some user adoption sort of coaching in your booth and answering questions from end user customers at Summit?
Yes, in line with it's a user group conference, we want to include and to encourage discussions, and that's why we will have Rick's talks at the booth every day during lunch hour. So we encourage everybody to stop by and get the latest update on the trends of user adoption and to get inspired. That's the whole purpose of this conference. So we're looking very much to meet our peers, meet our existing customers, partners, and hopefully a full bunch of new people we haven't met before.
So, I always find this interesting because I met you guys 2 years ago at the User Group Summit, and I was teaching I taught 2 courses that day, one on CRM planning, and the other one was building a user adoption program. And I remember the ClickLearn booth was in the hallway outside my room where I was teaching, and I'm standing there, and all these, you had quite a crowd watching your application. And when I started teaching the user adoption class, 3 or 4 people in the class said, you got to go see ClickLearn about user adoption. And I said, well, if 3 or 4 end users came in and said that about an exhibitor, I've got to go see the application. And that's when I met your team for the first time. And I've got to tell you, I was really, really impressed. So Joachim, tell us how ClickLearn is really going to be able to help companies through this digital transformation we're going through.
Right. So I think that you're touching on one of the key issues with user adoption. The thing is that as we transformed into a web-based environment and a cloud-based environment, we sort of had the idea that user adoption and training inside solutions would be a thing of the past, right? Because everything was just there. It was so easy to use. You could just go in and find your way around it. It's a web user interface, right? Everyone can use that. And that seems to be not just a false statement, but completely off, right? I recently went into my CRM system, and on a simple account view, I have access to 190 different operations I can perform on top of my account, right? And I know that I don't need to focus on all 190. The idea behind user adoption becomes more and more really, how do we focus in on what is essentially important? And that goes for all the framework solutions that we're seeing out there, right? Like the customer engagement platform. And the way that we foresee the future is that the need for training will not be less, but we will need to make it more focused, and we need to help assist the user within a much more complex environment than what we had back, in the 90s, right? And in that sense, those are the propositions that we are enhancing on in ClickLearn. So we are constantly trying to find out how do we best serve our service providers in getting the key features across to their user group. And I can say that when we look at it from a long-term perspective, we're obviously into the Microsoft platforms. We'll be launching a complete new connector on top of Teams. I mean, Teams is going to have such a significant role in the future collaborative workspace. And we have customers today that are acquiring our technology not just because they have a present project and upgrading from one version to another. We actually have customers coming in and saying, workforce mobility alone, we are bringing a lot of technology into areas where we cannot expect our employee turnaround to be kept at a very low point, especially when we are talking about bringing technology into the blue collar area as well. So as we are seeing this progression, it becomes much more important that you can actually train new employees within this with the same curriculum that you had when you introduced the technology.
So, maybe we can sort of close off with, Joachim, why don't you tell us a little bit about the direction of the product going forward and some of the things that you want to see in the future and some of the things that you're building?
Absolutely. So I'm actually heading what we call the UX 12, which is a very, very secret project internally. I'm not sure if I'm going to get killed by mentioning that one. But what we're doing in the UX 12 is we are reinventing the entire user experience around ClickLearn, making it much easier for our new customers to engage with our platform, but also catering for the existing clientele that we have and the clients that we have. That means both service providers and of course our enterprise customers as well. The ClickLearn UX 12 will contain a number of new features that will enhance on the material that you'll get out of ClickLearn. And we'll do some really great work on the automated process testing platform. That means that it'll be much easier to use the same recording that you do for your end user documentation to automate a test process as you go on to a new system, right? So we can actually go back to the CIO of an enterprise that are investigating how do we best get up to a new platform and say, well, let's start by rolling out the entire test protocol, which is all your written documentation, and see if everything works completely as intended. And that we're doing some major enhancements on. And then obviously we're moving into the cloud in a big way. So that means recordings, our technology is living in the cloud. We are offering a number of features, collaborative features in the cloud as well. So that means check in, check out, multiple users engaging together, free publishing options in our cloud, completely secured within an organization. So it's the biggest release that we have ever done.
That's fantastic. And, with my experience over 20 years working on these types of projects, the technology that we're using today works really well. 20 years ago, we had a lot more problems with it. The big hurdle we have to overcome today is really learning and user adoption. And in this digital transformation world, that's what it is getting people to change the way they work, change what they do. And I got to tell you, products like ClickLearn make it a whole lot easier. So right. Guys, since we're closing this off and we're going to see you all in Orlando in a couple of weeks, and that's the home of Disney. Before we sign off, tell us, what's your favorite Disney character? Jakob.
My favorite Disney character must be Pluto.
Pluto, excellent.
He is always happy and always faithful.
Okay, Joachim.
Yeah, well, I was going to say Pluto too, but then I'm going to go with Jakob.
All right, I just going to default to Mickey Mouse myself, and that's always safe. So thanks a lot for your time, gentlemen. We'll see you in Orlando in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Thank you, Rick.
This has been another episode of the MSDW podcast. My thanks to Joachim, Jakob, and Rick for joining us. You can learn more about ClickLearn at clicklearn.com and look for their booth at the User Group Summit and Extreme 365 events in Orlando the week of October 14th. Until next time, this is MS Dynamics World, signing off.